All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I'm Justin, joined by Tanner today, and it is November. Michigan is sitting at 5-4. Lost to the number one Ducks that came into town. I don't know that many people expected Michigan to win this game, but I think when you look at it, Tanner, I'm more frustrated with how they lost this game, and that seems to be a trend, right? I was mad about how they lost the Washington game and how they lost the Illinois game, and now it's how they lost the Oregon game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think with how Michigan played, especially the second half, I thought defensively they kind of anchored down a little bit, which was nice to see. Guys were making some plays and held Oregon to 10 points, and you know who knows if Michigan's able to cut that game to 7 points with the touchdown. Early in the fourth quarter, maybe the defense isn't completely demoralized, and you don't give up all those big plays on that last drive that allowed Oregon to chew the clock and then go score and make it a 21-point game. But yeah, I certainly thought that for the most part, coaching lost this game or made it to where it wasn't going to be as close as it should have been. And we're not around here for moral victories, man. I mean, we've reached the mountaintop, and some moral victories I just really don't care about. But at the same time, you're down 31-17. Do we want to talk about it, like that sequence? Because that was really frustrating. I was very upset
Well,
after the orgy run, and you're down 14. You take Davis Warren off the field, which Alex Orgy had a great run to get down there. But Davis Warren had been playing really well. He had a couple red zone touchdowns. The throw to Peyton O'Leary in the third quarter was extremely nice ball that he put out there with pressure in his face. And I just feel like taking him off the field for two of those plays, and then one of those plays being just a handoff to Kalel Mullings, was just coaching malpractice. And the last play of that sequence, the fourth down, I had flashbacks to the TCU game. It's like, what are we doing here?
I mean that's just like I don't even know if you can call it overthinking because it's like, well, there's a 1% chance that that works, right? Like, I mean, unless you have set that up perfectly, all year long or something. But I have not seen anything from Michigan to set that up, right?
No.
And I think that that whole sequence just felt. I agree. It felt like 2022 where we'd get to the red zone and then shit our pants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And you're throwing a pass to Alex Orgy at, like, I just don't understand on fourth down, and also the plays that led to that. I would have rather have thrown it 3 or 4 times. Davis Warren had been throwing the ball well. He had been very accurate during that game, and for some reason, this staff just does not understand. Hey, this guy's got the hot hand. Let's just ride it until it doesn't work anymore, right? Like when Kalel Mullings has big runs, it seems like they want to go to Donovan. When Davis Warren's playing well, they want to take the ball out of his hands. I don't understand. I'm just not sure how to comprehend that decision. And yeah, I just, like, how many times have they ran that package where Samaj is going to be the guy on the reverse? I don't think very many times, if any at all. So there's nothing on film that's going to fool Oregon to be like, oh, this is actually going to be Samaj Morgan on a reverse on a 4th and 5 coming across the field. Like, no, he's going to throw it. So
I also think before that too, like it's 3rd and 7, and you run Kalel up the gut when honestly running Kalel up the gut hasn't worked in 2 games. It didn't work against MSU, and it didn't work all day against Oregon. So, listen, earlier in the year, I'm okay with that probably because Kalel was gashing people, right? But you also have to just kind of know how things are going. I understand, it's 4-down territory, so you're probably just trying to make it a feasible 4th down, but also you'd run it up the gut to make it a feasible 4th down that doable and you can get it, and then you run that play. Like if it was like, hey, you're going to run it up the gut to try and make sure that you can get 4 yards or something, and then you run it again, or you try to I run a 4-yard out or in slant to Colston. I'm fine with that, but then you run the stupidest play I've ever seen, man. I'm like,
well, and if you run
doing?
that play on first down, I'm probably totally fine with it. right?
Yeah.
Because you still have 3 downs to try to score. So, or at least get a first down, because I think they were at the 12. So they could have gotten a first and goal if they'd gotten down to the 2. I think if you run that play on first down, I'm like, all right, hey, it didn't work. It's fine. But just the order in which they did things on that last 4 plays on offense that they had, I just thought was just incredibly mind-numbingly stupid. And so the other part of that is, where's Colson Loveland?
I mean,
He's the only reason Michigan's in the game.
This is also like going back to the Nico Collins, where it's like, how do we in 4 downs not try to just throw one fade route to our 6'6" guy that, like I just, that a guy that's dominated and nobody can guard him. Like I will never understand not trying to do. How is he not targeted at all?
I mean, because to your point, if you throw a fade to him, right? So you line him up on the outside and you try to get him one-on-one coverage. If you have one-on-one, you throw it to him. If they double team him, that's going to keep things a little bit more open across the middle of the field or on the opposite side of the field that you can throw to somebody else. So I would have rather had him run 4 fades into the end zone.
Legitimately.
Because again, he was the only guy for them. I mean, other guys scored touchdowns and played well, but he was the guy that kept Michigan's offense between the 20s moving. I mean, he had 7 catches for 112 yards. I mean, and he doesn't get a single target at the end of the game.
If you're trying to take away a positive from this game, like Davis and Colston have a great rhythm. They have a great connection, right? And honestly, I thought that all day it was like that. I want to give props to Davis again, where it's very frustrating to me that we're looking at him, and this was what, game 9 of the year. And he's looking really good, in my opinion, like doing everything that you asked of him at the beginning of the year, which was don't do anything crazy. Don't turn the ball over. To do that against the number 1 team in the nation is, I think, what more could you ask of Davis?
Not much more. I thought he played extremely well. Was very, very excited to see, how good a football he's playing right now. Yeah, he's not JJ McCarthy. That's okay. He's clearly got the most. He's got the most live arm in the program right now, right? Like
he's thrown some velocity. Darts, man.
Yeah, some of the throws to Colston over the middle. He had the one where he had to fit it over a linebacker. That was a phenomenal throw. Allowed Colston to get up the field and run. Again, the touchdown to Peyton O'Leary was a great throw with pressure in his face. Peyton O'Leary is double covered, and he just fits it in there. The throw to Tyler Morris, I think he was trying to get it to Peyton, but Tyler Morris just made a hell of a play to turn back and catch that football. But Davis Warren is, he had a couple misses, like the one to Tyler Morris in the red zone. Morris gets his hands on it. Probably should catch it. It's a little high, but it's also like only where his receiver can get it. So
I don't hate that throw. Like, no. I mean, you gave your guy a chance and only your guy a chance, right? So like, he didn't get a hand. He got 2 hands.
No, like, absolutely.
It would have been a phenomenal catch if he catches it, but it's a catchable ball.
For sure. Right? It probably doesn't need to be that high. I think he had leverage on the corner, so he's able to probably just put that up a little bit. Not as high as he did, but that's, we're nitpicking at that point with what the quarterback room has looked like all season. Like, that's a very good throw.
Every other game for Michigan this year, and even with JJ McCarthy, I think you're taking that throw, right? Like I definitely, but like from Davis Warren, who, from a 2024 perspective where you've played 3 quarterbacks, you're taking that throw 9 times out of 10.
For sure. And I mean, let's say it's Cornelius Johnson. He's probably catching it, right? Like he's probably going up, big body receiver. He's going to make that catch.
I mean, I was going to say, like, maybe we should recruit like a wide receiver that's taller than 5'10". I don't know.
I would be okay with that. Maybe somebody in the portal, maybe some high school guys, maybe somebody who's committed to LSU right now. Who knows? I'll take what I can get at this point. But no, I thought honestly though, that really kind of warped my perception of the game. That sequence that we discussed earlier. I thought though, there was obviously some plays that just went nowhere. Oregon was really blitz happy in this game, and they were totally fine with getting downfield and not respecting the pass. And then it opened up for Michigan as far as being able to throw the ball a little bit more downfield. But I thought for the most part, the game plan was pretty solid from Kirk Campbell, but that sequence just really left a sour taste in my mouth. And so it's hard for me to kind of overcome that and look at the game as a whole. But, they were in a position to be able to probably score, more points than they did. But
what were your thoughts on the run game? because this is 2 weeks in a row now that Kalel Mullings has done just about nothing. And I don't think that's on Kalel Mullings because he had nowhere to go 90%
No,
of
I
the
think it's
time.
on the offense to be able to, open things up with the pass game, which is kind of crazy to say, but with the way Davis Warren's throwing it, there was a lot of opportunity for Michigan down the field, and they, I mean, they didn't take advantage of it every time, but I thought they were more able to go and make those throws downfield and kind of take advantage of what the defense was showing. But when you're in the stadium, or even when you're just watching on TV, like you can see they'll have one high safety and they'll have everyone within like 7 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So it's like, at what point are you going to start implementing a lot of play action to open things up so the defense has to be honest, right? Versus we're just not going to run play action, and so when we run the ball, it's very very simple tells to be able to say, oh shit, they're running the ball. I'm just going to keep coming downfield. Whereas with the play action, that linebacker has to he's got to kind of make that decision. So I don't know why this program just continues to not want to run play action. It's something they didn't do last year. Last year, it's hard to complain, right? But if I had one complaint, it's that they didn't run play action as much as they should have.
Right. You have JJ McCarthy who can run, and I know he was injured for a lot of the season, so he wasn't 100%. But like, you have to utilize his ability to run. And again, Davis Warren is not JJ. He's not Alex Orji, but he can move enough to make it a threat, right?
How many times did he make throws on the run on Saturday? It was a few.
I don't know. I think that we've come a long way from the beginning of the year in terms of what this coaching staff has done to utilize what they have on this roster, right? Or they didn't know what they had and they didn't know what to do with it in the first 3-4 games. That was for sure. Right. But I think that, you would hope they figured it out before 9 games in, but it still feels a little bit like you're trying to fit, a square peg into a round hole. You're trying to make Davis Warren, JJ, you're trying to make the 2024 team, the 2023 team, instead of being like, hey, let's utilize what we got and do it well. I think, one of the most frustrating parts of the game to me was the touchdown from Oregon right before half. You're down 21-10, right? It's still very much a ball game because Michigan had moved the ball for the most part in the first half, I thought. I mean, I know you punt 3 times, I get that. But I thought Michigan they were in it, right? It was not a blowout by any means in the first half. But you just let up one bomb, right? And all of a sudden they're, at the 34 and they just, they gash you again. I don't know. It felt like when did that drive start? That drive started with 147 to go, 140 to go. You can't let up a touchdown with 140 to go with them starting on their own 20-yard line.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't know exactly. I don't know. So something that, and we probably talked about this in our group chat, but there was a quote yesterday from Wing Martindale's presser talking about this defense can be a quick fix. I'm like, Bert, what more do you need? Right? Like,
what you need, you've had 9 games and you have 4 first-round draft picks. I don't
right, and people are like, oh, well, Will's hurt. Yeah, well, the defense didn't look that great when Will Johnson was playing either. So let's be honest.
Will's had a down year, to say the least. Right?
Yeah. And obviously you miss Rod Moore, but you knew you were going to be without him. So yeah, I don't know, man. I was really disappointed by that. Michigan kicked the field goal. I was at the game, so I was like, well, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna beat the halftime crowd. And then I pulled out my phone on YouTube TV because when you're in the concourse, you actually get some service.
Right.
And I saw the one-handed catch. I'm like, you're kidding me. I'm mad. I'm upset going to the bathroom. And I'm walking out. And then I guess, they had the illegal man downfield that negated it. But then, I come back up to see Dylan Gabriel just running. Like, it looked like J.J. McCarthy against Nebraska last year on a touchdown.
It did.
Run. It's just like, what? And, somebody posted this. The way they lined up with their alignment on the defensive line, there's nobody from basically like the center to the right tackle. They're the left tackle, excuse me. And where does Dylan Gabriel run? Right through that hole, right? So
He's good.
Was the
you got to give him that. He is very good, right?
He's
Obviously they're the number one team in the nation. He's a Heisman favorite for a reason, right? But I think it's a winnable football game if you tweak a couple different things. I put out there, I think it was Sunday or Monday, that Michigan could be 8-1 right now, right? And I got shit on. That's okay. I'm okay with it. But I truly believe, like, with Davis, you beat Washington and you beat Illinois, and with a couple different things go Michigan's way, or they have no personnel issues, right? They have no penalties. I don't know. I just think things go a little bit differently, and Michigan can win. There was an opportunity to win the game against Oregon. I'm not saying they should have by any means, right?
So I want to talk through some coaching points,
Go for it.
and just some different moments in the game, and I want to get your perspective, because for me, I had thoughts inside the stadium, I had thoughts when I got home, and I've had thoughts over the last couple of days. I traveled for work, so I had a lot of time to ponder. I think there was something else going on this week, but I don't. Who cares about that? I care about Michigan, Oregon, man.
Exactly.
And so I want to get your thoughts, because I have some notes, but also there was one that I feel like you could go either way. But so Michigan has they get short field, and they've got it at the 47 of Oregon, and they go -3, incomplete, and then they get it to Samaj on kind of a tunnel screen, and he gets 8 yards, and so it's 4th and 5 at the 42. I wanted to go for it. Punting in this game.
What do you have to lose? Tell me what you have to lose there.
Right. Right side, maybe Tommy Doman's best punt of the season. Pins him at the 6. Problem is, you look 94 yards in 10 plays, and it's 21-7. So, I mean, do you go for it in that scenario? I do. I absolutely do.
I mean, does Dan Campbell? Probably. I think you have to be aggressive at some point. I know that at that point, are you very confident in your, offense? Probably not, but like,
are you confident in your defense?
Are you confident? I mean, your defense gave it up for 94 yards anyway, right? So I feel like in these types of games, when you are clearly outmatched, you have to, take advantage of when you have those opportunities of a short field. You have to take some risks. A lot of times it doesn't work. I would never, I'm not going to, unless it's like super stupid, like the 4th down play in the red zone. But like, I'm not going to fault a coach for trying to be aggressive and beat a team that's clearly better than them. Right?
No, absolutely. I mean, if you go for it, you don't get it. Hey, it is what it is, but at least you had the stones to say, you know what, we are going to try to win this game. When you're down 14-7, you're going up against the number 1 team in the country, and your offense clearly isn't on that same level as them, and your defense is not what it normally is. I feel like you need to go for it to try to win the game.
You got to get points when you if you have an opportunity to get points, you got to go make sure that damn well that you get points.
Yeah. So I didn't like that. They also, again, we already talked about the Tyler Morris incompletion, would have set them up with would have been 1st and goal.
Right.
And so they kick a field goal, and it's 21-10, and then Oregon goes down and scores, which is like, okay. So, dude, I mean, you want to go through the drive chart for the first half? It's disgusting.
It is. I was just looking at it. Go for it.
12 plays, 63 yards, touchdown. It is 6 plays.
This is for Oregon.
For Oregon, yes. This is not for Michigan. 6 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. They punted. Michigan did force a 3 and out. They punted 10 plays, 94 yards, touchdown. Right before half, 7 plays, 80 yards in a minute 12 to go up 28-10. Second half was cleaned up a little bit. I want to talk about some things in the second half that really pissed me off. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The special teams penalty. Cannot line up over the center. I know that rule. I'm just a dude. I play NCAA. I play Call of Duty.
99% of high school coaches know that rule.
And so, yeah, if you want to point to Trey Pierce and say he should know it, yeah, he should know it. But guess what? You know who else should know it? Somebody up in the booth and say, hey, we got to call a timeout. Otherwise, they're going to get a first down.
Correct.
Same drive. 10 men on the field. You had to burn a timeout. Same drive. 12 men on the field. Penalty. You're subbed when Oregon did not, which is the 12 men on the field. What are we doing? What is Michigan doing in practice?
I don't get it, man. So that's all three coordinators having massive blunders in a game that Michigan should be in. Offensively, defensively, and special teams. You have a special teams coordinator whose sole job and responsibility is to coach the special teams unit. He does not recruit. What is the fucking point? It's absurd.
I think this is where, like, you want to, even pre 2021, a lot of people shit on Jim Harbaugh, right? He couldn't win the big game, blah, blah, blah. He never made these types of mistakes.
No,
right? The details would, were always, they made sure, maybe they were out talented sometimes, right? Maybe they didn't have a QB, right? But like, they never made these types of mistakes. And in fact, what they did is they took advantage of other teams making these mistakes.
Yep.
And I thought that that sequence that you're talking about was the coaches letting the players down. And honestly,
Absolutely.
That was the overall theme of the game.
Like,
because I thought that our
5 minutes, dude.
Right. I thought our players played well enough to win the football game against the number one team in the country when they're 5-3 and could have very well thrown in the towel. Right.
Absolutely.
So I want to give, I'm frustrated with our coaching, but I want to give our players a little bit of love, because any of the Mason Grahams, the Kenneth Grants, the Colston Lovelands, you could have thrown it in at this point and been like, hey, I got my natty. I'm going to make $30 million in about 6 months. I'm good. Let's just kind of ride this out. Don't really give a shit. These guys are playing hard.
Absolutely. Right? Look at Josiah Stewart. He gets banged up, and guess what? He's right back on the field.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, Justin, let me. I had another note that pissed me off. Did you see Josiah Stewart line up at linebacker? What are we doing? Why? What is the point?
Oh, man. Really, really, really frustrating. The number of times that we've seen somebody that is lining up at like edge or linebacker that absolutely shouldn't be is shocking to me.
They are more impactful at the position that they play than they are at another position. There is what is the upside to having Josiah Stewart play linebacker? You don't have the threat of the pass rush. If you want to drop him into coverage, that's totally fine. Jesse Minter was fantastic at that. Wink Martindale's not very good at that. He's not very good at like disguising things or, confusing offenses. And I saw he took a shot at the 2-7 New York Giants, and I'm like, buddy,
dude, what are you doing? Like,
get your house in order.
You're 5-4, and you're taking shots at your old NFL.
They fired you for a reason. The
Right.
Baltimore Ravens fired you for a reason. I'm sick of Wink Martindale coming in here and thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna be able to do whatever, say whatever. No, dude, you stink. Your unit.
I want yes, but I also just want you to like be professional and own up to shit, right? And be like, listen, we instead of the Matt Patricia, we've got to be better, we got to coach better, we got to play better, we got to do this. Like, actually tell me like what you're gonna do better and show me progress, right?
Oh, the tackling's not an issue though.
How are you gonna sit there with a straight face and tell me that tackling is not an issue? Like, if there's one thing to point to, tackling has been the issue for this defense.
Yeah, tackling, coverage, big out of position. Those are some of the ones I notice.
I have a play that really, really frustrated me as well. It was, I believe it was late in the second quarter, I want to say. We rolled Davis out, rolled Alex Orji out, and the only route was Max Bredesen on a corner route to the end zone. Max Bredesen, I love him more than life itself, but he should not be running any routes. He's a fullback. It's not his game. He was double covered, so there was no shot, but that was the only option for the route. So what was the plan there? Like, I didn't understand it at all. And again, I think it's overthinking. Like, let's have Davis Warren throw the fucking ball to Colston Loveland. right? Like you have
Perhaps.
Alex Orji trying to throw the one. I was like, oh shit, Orji's gonna throw, and then I look out, and the only receiver on that side of the field is Max Bredesen. Like
somebody's
again,
got smartest guy in the room syndrome. Somebody,
dude, I'm just like, what are we doing here? It's crazy to me.
Very frustrating. Yeah, I mean, I could probably go on and on, but some good to take, some bad from the game. Number one team in the country, should have been a 7-point game with 8 minutes left, and it turned into a 21-point blowout. And I want to say this about I'm sure people have their opinions on the touchdown on 4th and goal when Michigan wasn't calling a timeout. I'm of the belief of if you don't want to get scored on, stop them. But I'm also of the belief that if you want to use that as fuel for when Michigan goes to Autzen in 2 years, then I'm all for it. Like, get fired up, beat their ass. Like, I want to, like, again, you got to stop it. So I'm not mad, but also, like, I'd love to just absolutely beat the crap out of Oregon in 2 years, right? So, like, let's, use it as fuel.
I'm with you 100%. I don't want. I had a couple people say to me, like, "Are you like? Is nobody talking about running the score up?
We got bigger problems.
We got bigger problems. Also, I don't want to be the person that's mad about somebody running the score up on us. We were 6 months ago, 12 months ago, we were running the score up on other people. We can be that program.
It was just Michigan State.
I understand, but like we were good enough to put up a 50 burger week in and week out, right?
Absolutely.
And like, we were running up the score on people with our backups. But yeah. I'm just saying, like, to me, that's like it's a soft comment, honestly, because like, be better. We
100%.
I'm with you. Like you have enough talent. If you want to talk about running up the score because it's, you're playing an FCS school in week 2, right? Like, all right, I can get on board with that. They're obviously out talented. You're playing, it's a pay game, right?
Yep.
But like Michigan's the fucking reigning national champs, dude.
Right.
We cannot complain about anybody running up the score on us.
I just have to say this, if I take my biases aside, really stupid, in my opinion, from Dan Lanning, though, to have his starters in with 10 seconds left. There's really no reason.
Couldn't agree more.
Like, what are you doing?
Dude, if Dylan Gabriel goes down there, you're the dumbest person alive.
Like, what are you doing? Again, it doesn't matter. I mean, 31-17, 38-17 doesn't bother me. We got a Fetty Wap out of it.
True.
So I'm sure a lot of our viewers remember Fetty Wap.
Flash in the pan. Is he RIP?
No, he's still around.
All right. I don't know what happened to him, but all right. But Michigan is headed to Bloomington. Things are not getting easier. I mean, it's like this is one of those ones at the beginning of the year. You're looking at the schedule. When people were like, "Oh, Michigan will be 8-4 at worst," right? Like that's myself included, right? Like if you're looking at the schedule preseason. You're looking at this as a win. I believe Michigan has won the last 46 of the last 48 meetings or something like that in 60 years. And all of a sudden, Kurt Cignetti has this team rolling, and Michigan is a 14-point underdog, which is shocking just to see that in on a screen.
Yeah. Indiana has basically dominated everybody they've played. I don't think
they haven't played anybody.
That's fair. But if Penn State had this schedule, Penn State would be number 3 in the country, as they were. I think basically had this schedule. So, they had, 14-point win over Washington. They just smoked Michigan State. They smoked Nebraska. 41-24 over Northwestern. I didn't watch that game. I don't remember much about it, but interesting that one was a little bit closer than some of their others. 14-point win over Maryland. So,
I was curious about the Nebraska game because at the time Nebraska looked like they were on the rise a little bit. Like, I think Raiola had played well for the few games before that. It looked
5
like
turnovers,
they were 5 turnovers. Okay, and then this Michigan State game against Indiana last week, like Michigan State goes up 10-0. And Michigan State's at home, right? They're like okay, Nick Marsh is looking unbelievable. And then Indiana scores 47 straight points. That is hard to do. Really hard to do. Like, I don't know. This guy, you want to talk about juice? Like, who's got juice? Indiana's got some juice right now, man. They have they've got swag. They're playing with fire. Like, I know he brought in a bunch of talent from in the portal and everything, but man, I don't know. Is this game winnable for Michigan or
I think so. I think there's a path to victory in this game. Now, what that path looks like, I'm not sure. I think there's probably a couple different scenarios. I think Michigan's certainly going to have to force some turnovers. I think defensively, if you can get Jair Hill back, I have no idea what's going on with Will. Turf toe is a tricky injury to recover from. So, and again, if there's any doubt that he's able to get on the field, that I don't blame him for saying I'm going to prioritize my health. But if you get Jair Hill back, that probably helps some things. I mean,
people
he's
will
been up
shit
and
on you
down
for that comment, by the way?
for Jair Hill.
No, for Will
Oh,
prioritizing his health.
If he's not 100%, I have no qualms with him deciding to not strap it up. So it is what it is. He's a guy that's given a lot to this program. So I've seen a lot of weirdo comments out there like, oh, he's business decision, he's giving up. He won a national championship here. He won a 2-time Big Ten champ. Cool. I'm good. Like that's part of what,
I'm with you.
So, but yeah, I think for Michigan, it's about, hopefully getting Jair Hill back. Because he's been up and down, but he's also had some really bright moments, and just for his future development, you want to see him out there because he's made some plays. He's had some rough moments, but he's a guy that's a first-year starter as a true sophomore. He's going to get better, and he's going to be very good. And so if you can have him out there, that's probably going to help. Curtis Rourke, man, you look at his stats: 73%, 10.5 yards per attempt, 19 touchdowns, 3 picks. Like, dude's pretty good.
Dude, that's like an unbelievable. I honestly, I don't know it and don't care enough to go look this up, but like, I'd be shocked if any Indiana quarterback, like in their history, has had a stat line like that. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He was a baller at Ohio. He had a really good year last year, and crazy. You can go find a quarterback in the portal that makes your team pretty
70. They started out 77-3 against Western Illinois. I don't care who it is. Putting up 77 points is impressive.
Absolutely. From that moment, I was like, oh, they might be legit. I didn't think they'd be undefeated at this point, but I was like, oh, they're going to be pretty good. The running backs, Justice Ellison's got 670 yards, 6 yards in attempt. Tyson Lawton, 453 yards. They both got 9 touchdowns. So they spread the wealth. The receivers are pretty balanced as well. They have a lot of guys with a lot of catches, a lot of yards, touchdowns. So, they got a lot of weapons. So defensively for Michigan, it's really about just, bend, don't break. I think Michigan's going to give up yards, but if you can get down inside the 30 and you can force field goals, that's what you've got to do. I haven't really seen that, unfortunately, from this team. Like they just kind of break, at least in crucial moments. But I just think that there is a way for Michigan. And look, yeah, this is a good Indiana team, but like Michigan's at least on par talent-wise, you would think. Right, at least on paper. Now that hasn't really panned out for us in our projections so far.
Michigan has been the more talented team in every game except for Texas and Oregon, right?
Yeah. So, but I think for Michigan offensively, it's about trying to establish a run, play action. Colson Loveland should have 15 targets, in my opinion. I'd like to be able to get Tyler Morris, some more throws over the middle. We've seen what he can do. We've been saying this all year. He had a touchdown against Oregon this week. So,
do you still like how they are using Davis and Orji?
Yeah, I do. I think it's probably the best option they've got. And I think what they've done with Orji, I just wonder where that stuff was when he was the starter.
Maybe it's just different because it's not every time, right? Like I get that. But I do still like the changing it up thing. I just think it's the only thing I'll say is anytime you take your actual quarterback off the field, it's one less chance to, have him make a play. right? And I know that means Alex Orji can make a play, and he has at times, but I don't know. I also at times am like, let's just run a normal offense. Like I don't just,
I mean,
keep it going.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, but against Michigan State, he gets a touchdown on 3rd and goal. And then he also ices the game with his legs. And then against Oregon, he gets them down to the 12-yard line.
Yeah.
So
I don't hate it.
It certainly has its moments.
Yeah.
But I do think there are ways that you can utilize him. He is, I still think he's one of the best 11 guys on offense, right? So I will say the play where he was in motion and then he kind of circled back, some eye candy. I really like that. I think Michigan needs to do way more of that to try to confuse defense. I mean, these are college players, man. Like NFL teams run motion 80 to 90% of the time now. And Michigan, it feels like they do it every so often because they need to.
And a year ago, we ran motion on like every play. So
it's because it confuses the defense. It changes your keys. It changes what your assignment is. And so when you have motion, look at the 2-point conversion against Michigan State. Colson Loveland in motion ends up wide open.
Right.
Like they need to do a lot more of that. They need to do a lot more play action. They need to do a lot more on the motion. Hey, we're going to fake the handoff because it seems like every time they do end up motioning, somebody's getting the ball on a sweep.
Yeah.
So you need to try to play off of that.
I also, you mentioned it, but like you have to get Kalel Mullings going. You are not going to win this football game if Kalel Mullings doesn't have 15 carries for 100 yards. So I don't know what exactly is going on there. I think people have figured out a little bit. Like, hey, every time that Kalel is in there, it's a run up the gut. I think we're an easy offense to figure out, if I'm being honest, right? But
you don't say.
Yeah, you need to get him going in some fashion. So I think that's a thing. I also this has got to be like the biggest game in the biggest 2 weeks in Indiana football history, right? This is probably one of the bigger games in Bloomington, and then they go to Columbus next week. So like
the following week,
the
23rd. Yeah, they play Ohio State plays Indiana the week before the game.
Sorry, they have a bye. Indiana has a bye week. Sorry about that. But I still think like either here's the situation for Indiana. They win these 2 games, which is very difficult, no doubt about that, right? But they win these 2 games, they're in the college football playoff. They lose even one of these games, they might be out of the college football playoff.
Yeah, even at number 8, like they're not
even at 11-1 with a loss to Ohio State. If it's a blowout, that committee is going to be like, they would have 0 wins over anybody with a single vote in the AP poll.
Hey man, I mean, look, if they lose to Michigan but they beat Ohio State, they're probably in because that's just that's a loss to the defending national champs.
Yeah, so true.
That's a team that's won 2 playoff games this calendar year, so it would be respectable for the Hoosiers if that were to go down that way. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think it's I'm from Indiana. I really don't like Indiana basketball. Like I really don't. Like for me, Indiana basketball might be my second least favorite program in the Big Ten. Just personal preference there. Yeah. But Indiana football, man, I've never had beef with them. They have beef with us from multiple years of Michigan winning and the Donovan Warren interception that was probably in 2009. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it probably should have been dual possession, which would have gone to the offense. But so I have people that tell me they hate Michigan that are Indiana fans because of that play from 15 years ago, which is hilarious to me.
Which is like, I'm sorry, but that game is like one of the more forgettable games ever.
That was my first game at the Big House.
But I'm just saying, it was 2009.
Oh, yeah.
Most Michigan fans have regressed that out of their memory.
That's ingrained in mine, baby. Tay Adams, Tate Forcier,
I think I said regressed instead of repressed, but that's okay.
No one knows.
Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, I mean, literally, they haven't beat us. I think the stat is like, I don't know when. Let me pull it up because it's.
I mean, they beat Michigan in 2020 during COVID, but outside of that, it's been since 1970 something.
It literally is 46 out of 48. I'm pretty sure. But Yeah, well, you're not going to get the real stats from this podcast. Sorry. But it is something like that. So, if you want to listen, hey, if you're listening out there and you say that to somebody and just say it with confidence, they'll believe you. So,
Indiana has beat Michigan twice since 1968.
There you go. You never know. I mean, maybe they shit the bed in their home, who knows?
I don't know, man. Kurt's that guy.
Kurt's got that guy, Kurt's got juice, man. I'm telling you.
Kurt Signetti, the shirts they have are incredible.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot more people are smoking cigarettes down there, which, hey, good for you. He's got an awesome last name. He's got a lot of swagger. And he kind of called it. He was at Assembly Hall and he said, Michigan sucks. I was like, damn, this guy's what is he talking about? Well, maybe he knew something.
I don't know. He was onto it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Are we getting predictions?
Do you have to?
Indiana wins.
I got a weird feeling, to be honest, that we pull something out of a hat. But I've also had a weird feeling in all 4 of our losses this year.
You never know. You Quinn Ewers under pressure. We've been, having the same conversation for the last 2 months now.
Yeah, it's fucking not fun. I enjoyed it a lot more last year when
we got on here. Or 21.
Yeah, right.
But dude, if we can only podcast when the boys are good, then who are we?
So true.
We're front runners.
We're foxhole guys. We're in here no matter what. Even when we're getting aerated, we're
even when Michigan's giving
up
300 yards and eight yards per play against Oregon in the first half. We're there.
We're there. All right. Well, I predict that I will drink a lot of Hail IPAs this weekend. Maybe even some Trulies and Sun Cruisers.
Absolutely.
I also am going to head to Tormina's as well. Tormina's Pizza on West Stadium. You can get 15% off if you use code BB90. They have a 24-inch pizza with that deal, with that coupon code. It is $23. It is the biggest pizza you've ever seen.
Can I just talk about Tormina's? I live near Stadium, and so that's one of my favorite pizza spots. I'm a big Cottage Inn guy. The Cottage Inn on Stadium, dude, I've waited a long time for some pizza there. Tormina's, I've never had that problem. They've got phenomenal pizza. Their cheese bread is phenomenal. The garlic bread is phenomenal. The ranch, really good ranch, really good pizza ranch.
Yes.
So hit up Tormina's, really good spot. Got a lot of different. They have a really good buffalo chicken pizza. They've got a good kind of meat lovers pizza, pepperoni, cheese, whatever. And we always have it at the tailgate. Just whenever you're a little too tipsy, brings you right back to life.
And then it hits the spot after after you take a couple shot skis or you hit the Bongzilla. And then you go straight to a greasy piece of pizza that soaks it all up.
And we normally have enough to where it's you can get in there. You know what I mean? For sure. I'll be walking around maybe should get another slice over here. Just let me get a little corner piece, little crust down there.
Shout out to our guy as well. He brought he's like, no, I'll bring a couple throughout the day so that they're always fresh. That is just unbelievable. So
great customer service. They do it right over there.
100%. So. All right. Well, for us, you can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 Podcast on YouTube, and blueby90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.